Yeah, I actually just had a little shower.
Mhm.
Thanks. Yeah. And I think we should be okay with the noise. There might just be a little bit in the background, but I think Zoom's also quite good at screening that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
So,
but also, I think my team can also kind of edit the whole thing up.
okay, great,
So don't
great.
worry about it. So normally, what I do is start of everything. I just say, you know what, hey, Justin, we talk shit for 2 minutes, and I'll go live after.
Fine. There we go. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, cool.
You ready?
Yep.
One, two, three.
Today, we're fortunate enough to have global speaker and best-selling author.
Best-selling author, international speaker.
Dr. Justin Cohen has spoken in over 40 countries. One of the world's leading experts in human transformation.
Dr. J is a Speaker Hall of Fame inductee.
Please welcome to the stage
Dr. Justin Cohen.
Dr. Justin Cohen.
Justin Cohen.
Dr. Justin Cohen.
Justin Cohen!
We are undergoing the greatest acceleration of change in the history of humankind. Nothing short of a revolution
in the way that we live and in the way that we work.
And you don't need to be a futurist to see it. You can be a presentist and see it right here now.
Dr. Justin Cohen is a world-renowned authority on human transformation. He's a best-selling author and global speaker who has hosted multiple personal development TV shows.
When you step into your power and realize that you are enough, you build yourself up to the greatness of who you can be.
Dr. J holds a doctorate in human transformation. He's spoken to tens of thousands of people in over 40 countries, providing them with powerful tools and insights to achieve lasting breakthroughs in their lives and businesses. Dr. J hosted a CNBC Africa television talk show where he interviewed some of the world's leading experts on success.
What is information worth? Information that enables you to increase sales, double your profits, or achieve a great big, hairy, audacious goal. What we call the custodians of that information, gurus. Isn't that a great analogy for entrepreneurship?
Yes.
That you cannot stand still. You can't keep doing things the way you've always been doing them. The game changes.
Dr. J is creator and host of the groundbreaking podcast, I Speak to Dead People, where he interviews some of history's greatest minds using AI. In WTF, What the Future, based on his latest book, he doesn't just talk about AI, he makes it part of the event.
Here we go. I am here with 4,000 human capital practitioners from all over Southeast Asia. We are super excited to talk to you about the incredible opportunities of AI for human capital management.
I'm thrilled to be here with all 4,000 of you. Let's dive in.
Gee, are you going to take all our jobs? And don't make us cry.
No need for tissues, Dr. J. AI isn't here to take over jobs, but to take on tasks. It handles the repetitive stuff, freeing you up for the human-centric, creative, and strategic parts of work. Think of it as a trusty sidekick.
So, how do we ensure that AI doesn't replace us? Because right now, globally, that is the biggest fear. Yes, jobs will go out of fashion. Service never will.
Whether it's leadership, motivation, sales, or service, Dr. J tailors his transformational content to align with your event's objectives. He's also an exceptional facilitator and MC, drawing out key themes and keeping the audience engaged and inspired. Dr. Justin Cohen has written multiple bestsellers. His internationally acclaimed signature teachings have been used and loved by hundreds of global organizations. He shared the stage with many luminaries, including Deepak Chopra, Jack Canfield, and Richard Branson.
Don't try and be a person of success. Be a person of value, and success will follow.
Thank you.
Anyway, welcome to 84 Musings podcast, everyone. And today we're diving into a topic that's purely based on human transformation together with AI. I'm beyond blessed, to be honest, not because I'm biased, he's my very good friend, but also plus the fact I have Dr. Justin Cohen to join us. Dr. Justin Cohen is a world leader in human transformation, best-selling author, global speaker to be honestly spoken in front of more than thousands of people in over 40 countries, and also a TV personality. Dr. Justin, I can spew superlatives in front of this whole thing, but I think I would like the whole world to know, who are you, mate? Who's Dr. Justin Cohen in a nutshell?
Kish, great to be with you, and really just somebody who is a student of human transformation. You know, this is what I've been doing for 30 years, and while it is what I teach, I continue to learn, and that's what I love about these conversations, right? Because that's exactly what we're going to do. Help yeah, figure this out together. And the truth is, there's no hard and fast rules here. You know, if there was, we would live in a world where everybody had everything that they wanted all the time, right? This is the journey of life, is we got to figure this out, and that's part of the fun.
And you are the facilitator to get two parties together, the idea of life and the knowledge. I mean, getting
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a science-based guy. You know, there's a lot of science on this. The science is not definitive. That's the thing about science, right? It's provisional and it's changing. It's developing all the time. So there's a lot of things that we know are pretty effective, but that body of knowledge is growing, and that's what makes this so much fun, right? It sparks curiosity. This is what makes it so fascinating, is what we're figuring out on a day-to-day basis.
Justin, give me one small, quick two-liner. What is human transformation?
Well, Kish, I sometimes joke that I can save people the 4 years of my doctorate and sum it up in one word. It's habit. It really boils down to habit, right? It's what we do automatically. And that's the beautiful thing about the human condition, is that, yes, while it is initially difficult to take on those habits, whether it's healthy eating or exercise or emotional habits or self-control, once we are in the habit, it's not very difficult, right? I mean, we forget that once upon a time we didn't want to brush our teeth, right? And we had to be dragged to do that. And now, nobody's wake up in the morning and saying, I wonder if I should do this or not, right? They're just doing it, right? They're on autopilot. It is unconscious, right? What we call unconscious competence. And that's where we want to be. So it really boils down to habit. The question is, how do we create those habits? What are the things that make habit creation more difficult? What are the things that make it easier? And that, of course, is itself a science.
Mm. But I think the biggest thing is, correct me if I'm wrong. I also do believe habit creation or human transformation. I think today in a lot of the corporate world that we speak about, like, where do you see with the advent of new tech coming in, the advent of new things, that the human element of human transformation, it's not so much the tech behind it, is it though, Justin?
Well, of course, what the tech is doing is it is stepping in, right? And doing a lot for us. And that's incredible, right? I mean, this is an incredible time to be alive. Yeah, when we look at AI, I think there is a good chance that over time we will look at this as a bigger breakthrough than fire, or the wheel for that matter. And we're not quite sure what it's going to mean. But what we do know is what's going on right now. And this, I always say, I'm not a futurist, I'm a presentist. Futurists are but like fortune tellers, only they get paid a lot more to predict what nobody remembers when it doesn't happen. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. I think of it in terms of scenarios, and I think there's, and we can talk about those scenarios a little bit later if you like. But what interests me more is what's going on right now, right? And what is going on right now is the age of exponential change, right? And exponential is doubling. And the best way that I know to uh, bring this to people, this understanding is to compare linear to exponential. So if you had 30 steps, you're taking them linearly, you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you get to the number 30. But if you're taking those steps exponentially, they double, right? It's 1, 2, 2, 4, 4, 8. And by your 30th step, you're not at the number 30, you're at a billion, right? That's the difference between linear and exponential. So take all the computing power in the world that we have right now, and Gordon Moore from Intel, really back in 1965, noticed that that was doubling every 18 months. Now we think it's every 8 months. So what that means is take all this computing power and innovation and say, call it a year from now, all of this doubles. And another year from now, all of that doubles, right? So this is the change that we're currently living in, right? Change that used to take place in a generation is now taking place in a few months. So incredible acceleration that is going on. And so we can't say exactly what is going on. All we can say is that it's moving very, very fast. And so we need to be continual learners, right? That is the great advantage here. It's not so much about what we need to learn, but that we need to continue to learn. That is what we know.
But if like, just pushing back on what you said, but what if the fear of learning kind of cripples people? I think a lot of the kids, I always say this, I had a podcast a week ago with a younger lady, and she's also a person in the space, but she kind of said there's always segments in the groups that kind of understand things differently. So there are the 40 and 50 and 60 and above who kind of say, you know what, I'm very used to what I do and I want to keep it that way. But she was more of a tech person because their brains are not wired to learn something new at that point. Whereas there are kids who are from 20 to 30 who will say, you know what, I'm willing to embrace it and get it. So that's a disparity. Like, how do you address the little gap in between that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some truth in that, right? Kids, we know their brains are more malleable than older brains, but we used to think that older brains did not
No, but
change.
I think not just in that, but I just think they grew up in a different world where this is normal.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I mean. So like, whereas the slightly older ones, you're gonna say, you know what, we're gonna start learning this whole thing and still not lose who we are.
Yeah. But and I know there's a lot of data out there on the generations. I think it's slightly overstated, this idea that younger generations are more focused, say, on learning, and that may be largely true. But what I've found is it's actually got more to do with the individual. And so you will find individuals in older generations who are very curious, who are constantly learning, and you'll find some younger people who say, hey, I got my degree, I spent a lot of time and money and energy on that, and now I'm done. Now it's time to go and put it into practice. So I think what we need to understand is that whatever generation you're in, whether it's the young or older generation, you're going to need to be a continual learner, because jobs, we don't know what jobs we're going to be doing, right? In the same way as 10 years ago there was no cloud architect and big data analyst and Instagram influencer. Well, we don't know exactly what's going to happen 10 years from now. But what we do know, Kesh, is that the brain is actually very malleable, and right into old age we see neuronal development, we see new connections being formed. And I personally think that actually learning is linked to pleasure. I think the only reason that many people associate it with pain is that, unfortunately, the school system is not always very good at activating that internal love, that desire, that curiosity. And I think the second reason is we don't like to fail, understandably. But if we don't want to fail, if we don't want to stumble, we're not going to want to learn, because when you're first learning, you are going to stumble, right? That's just what happens when you can't do something effectively initially while you're learning. But that is actually how we learn. So I think if we can get over this idea that I have to be perfect from the get-go, that I can mess up, fail fast, fail often, right? Failure's feedback. Failure is how we learn and grow. So just reframing failure as a growth opportunity. And of course, there's a beautiful work from Carol Dweck at Stanford University on growth mindset, right? When you actually see those setbacks, difficulties, and challenges as opportunities to grow, to be better, then in fact, failure can actually become weirdly exciting because it's like, yes, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm getting better, right? So I think we've got to change our attitude to failure. And I think that for some people, yeah, it can be at any age, right, where they become resistant. So all of us, I think, need to really embrace that
I think
opportunity.
it's more the anxiety than it's the resistance to learning. I don't. I think it's anxiety to get into it. It's a great segue to get into what my next question would be. Like, how do you approach that, Justin? And you've been on the stage speaking to thousands and thousands of people, but how do you address the anxiety for a person to accept the message you're saying?
Well, the anxiety is the right word, right? Because fear is a response to real threats. Anxiety is a response to perceived threat,
Exactly.
right? So there's another definition of anxiety which uses the word fear. Fear, uh, uh, false evidence appearing real, right? So what we're anxious about is not really substantial. It's more the stories that we tell ourselves that I have to be perfect, that I can't mess up, that if I mess up, I'll be perceived as less, and then I will, lose, say, my job or whatever it is. And yet we know that in fact is not the case. So let me answer your question. You said, well, how do I deal with anxiety? And the truth is it's a big topic, right? There's
I know.
there's there's textbooks on that. But I think what I always say, Kish, is under every hurting emotion, and anxiety is a hurting emotion, there's a hurting thought. And if you can identify that thought and change it, you will change how you feel, right? So if let's say this, you're currently doing a job and you're anxious about learning a new skill, let's say using AI, and you're anxious because you think it's going to be hard and it's going to maybe that's the thought, it's going to be hard and it may not work out. Like anybody who thought this is going to be hard and it probably won't work out and I'm going to have egg on my face, anyone with that thought is going to be anxious and is going to become despondent and is not going to want to learn, right? So we have to change the thoughts if we're going to change the emotions, right? That is the uh, that is the that is the great insight of the Stoics, the Greek Stoics, and that has been that has really been systematized by cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the most effective form of psychotherapy that we know, which is that if we can change our thoughts, we'll change our emotions, right? And so if we feeling anxious, it's because we have an anxious thought. And if we want to stop feeling anxious, we need to change that thought. And so we can say, learning is scary and I'm going to have egg on my face and it's not going to work out. Or we can say, hey, learning is fun. And, I'm actually going to take on a new skill that can help me to be better and achieve more, right? In fact, Kesh, there's this fascinating research at Harvard University. Giving a speech is very scary for many people. In fact, people rate the fear of public speaking as greater than the fear of death, which is kind of crazy, right? It means that most people would rather be in
I
the
have
class.
that fear, to be honest. I do.
Well, maybe we need to address that here, and what is actually going on, because it doesn't make sense, right? Why would the fear of public speaking be greater than the fear of death? There is a theory that when you stand in front of a group of people, to the caveman brain, and by the way, we have an operating system that evolved to deal with a very different environment, the environment of our caveman ancestors, where you're under continual threat. Now we're not under continual threat anymore, but the brain hasn't got the update, right? And so we still look. So there's the theory is that when we standing in front of an audience, we actually the caveman brain goes, "This is the primal horde," and they're either going to say yes or no. And if they say no, we will be ejected from the tribe. And if you were ejected from the tribe in the Stone Age, you would die, right? And so the idea is that actually public speaking is a little bit, the fear is actually a fear of death, right? To the caveman brain, because it's like, if I get rejected, I die, right? That's why we're also rejection sensitive. Because for our Stone Age ancestors, rejection would usually mean death. Now, that's not the case anymore. And in fact, what we know is if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a salesperson, if you're a business person, you need to get rejected. You need to fail. If you're not getting rejected, if you're not failing, you are not going to succeed, period. Like, you have got to get over this rejection thing. It takes on average 12 exposures to a new product, service, or person before people will buy. So if I give up after the first rejection, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I am never going to succeed. So I've got to embrace this. Now, let's just talk about the public speaking, because this was the research at Harvard. So what they told people is that when you're going to do that speech, you can tell yourself, I'm nervous, I'm anxious, right? Now, if you tell yourself I'm nervous and anxious, and you might even want to try this now. So let's say you're going to give this, try it now. Just say to yourself, I'm nervous, I'm anxious. When you say those words, how do you feel?
Yeah, pretty horrible. Yeah.
Pretty horrible, right? I'm nervous and anxious. Now, now they told the people, before you go give the speech, tell yourself you're excited. See, excitement and nervousness have the same physiological basis: increased heart rate, breathing, blood pressure, right? We all know that the difference, though, right? When you go and watch an amazing movie, an adventure movie, whatever it is, even a horror movie, right? You get excited, right? It's fun. But then if you're giving a speech, then you get nervous. But the body's doing the same thing. So if you just reframe those physiological sensations and you say, I'm excited, and you just say that right now, I'm excited. Now just think about that next speech that you're going to give, and you're thinking, I'm excited. I'm excited to give them the gift of my message. I'm excited to get out there and make a difference. I'm excited out there to pitch my new idea. I'm excited, right? You feel the difference, right? When you say I'm excited.
But Justin, that's a uniquely, if you've done this 10 times, the ability to shift minds happens. Like, it's because I remember my first time on stage, I was nervous as hell, right? Yeah, sweat pouring down your hands, you could barely hold a microphone. I think it's easier said than done for most people, but I think it comes with practice. I do believe if you're willing to put yourself out there, and that goes back to what you initially said. I think at any point, you're willing to put yourself out there, change yourself, be willing to learn, willing to fail. And then I think you'll be able to somehow succeed in the biggest fear that you have. Or whatever.
Well, this is the thing. The truth is, Kish, so as I said, anxiety it's a big topic, and there are a number of treatments. So one of them is to reframe, right? Change the way that you think about it. But I will tell you that the most effective form of treatment for anxiety, hands down, is summed up in this one line: feel the anxiety and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Feel the anxiety and do it. And so what happens is, if you don't do it, so you want to know the cause of anxiety? It's avoidance. If you avoid public speaking becomes scary and
it builds up that. So I know, but it's a tough. No, Justin, you know what? I'm with you on this one, because I come from an old school way of thinking where if you fear something, keep doing it over and over and over again. So you get over it at some point. But I think there's a new school of thought that, you know what, you gotta, calm down, relax, get yourself going at a certain point. There are two thought processes that I think we got, but anxiety is a topic we're talking about here. But what I'm trying to get across is the fact that but what I'm thinking of as entrepreneurs, as business leaders, as someone who's leading a team, at some point you have to be able to kind of put your charge forward. And in this world we currently live in, I don't think I always say AI is important, it kind of works for us and all kind of stuff. But I think the human element of any kind of leadership matters the most. That cannot be discounted. You cannot discount it for the rest of my life, right? I can keep saying that, we can keep saying. Recently, there's a CEO from DBS Bank in Singapore who said, AI can take over my job. I think she's full of shit. If you're a CEO of a major bank in Singapore and AI can take your job, mate, you shouldn't be a CEO. Okay? So this is what my whole thing about this conversation should be about. It's like, no, there's human elements to it. There's a lot more touch, feel, thought, there's storytelling, leadership behind where we are today. Right? I
Yeah,
can't
look,
point it. Yeah,
Kesh, you and I are aligned in that. I mean, let's be clear here. The most powerful force on the planet is not artificial. The
exactly.
most powerful force on the planet is human. Now, AI can help us to become better at being human. By crunching the data, doing some of that heavy lifting, it empowers us, it frees us to do what matters most.
Exactly.
Show up with heart. Yeah. Form those connections, care, right? So that is the part that it is currently not doing. And that is the part that is key to our own success. And we know this, right? This is Harvard study of human thriving. It's the longest study
Yeah,
of
yeah,
success,
yeah.
started in
I get it.
1930, still running today. And what is the number one key? People who earn on average $120,000 more a year than those who are lowest on this one key. And they're happier. 70% correlation between this one key and happiness. It's the warmth of your relationships, right? So relationships is absolutely critical, right? We do business with people we know, we like, we trust, right? It's that, what did I hear somebody say the other day? I really like this, the likability quotient. What is your likability quotient? How likable are you? Because I don't know about you, Kish, but when it comes down to it, I want to do business with people that I like. Imagine somebody's got the best product, the best service, the best price, but you really don't like them. Are you going to do the business with them? No way. But hold on, they got the best product, the best price. Why not? Because I don't like them, right? It's not even rational because you said, well, you should still do it. But if you don't like them, right? And so how do we create those connections? That's what you do so well, right? That's why I'm here, because you reached out to me and you're
I
you're
know.
a
That's why I
great.
love you, mate.
I love you
Well,
too. You're a great connector. I think that's a big part of your success is your ability to build relationships. And the other thing about you, Kesh, is that you sustain those relationships. Many people, yeah, maybe they can build them for a little, they can establish that relationship, but then they get distracted. Whereas you nurture your relationships. You'll go back to people. You're the kind of guy who checks in with me. Hey man, how you doing? Where about in the world are you? What are you working on at the moment? And you do it with what I call a giver mindset, right? Like you're not reaching out to me saying like, hey, I need something. You're reaching out to me to offer value, right? Just to connect. And then of course I want to reciprocate, right? We call this the law of reciprocity. I want to reciprocate because you're so giving, right? And when we came to Singapore and we don't know the city and you're like, hey guys, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What do you want to see? What are you doing? You're giving value, right? And the best way to get is to give. You want to get more, you want to give more. So we can talk about tech until we're blue in the face, but I truly believe it's what makes you so successful. And I think that anybody out there who wants to thrive in this world, yes, figure out the AI. I love AI. I use it a lot, but be a good person and just go out there and add value. Einstein, don't try and be a person of success, be a person of service and success will follow.
Mm-hmm. But just before I wrap up, I think we should do a part two at some point. But I want to ask you one last question before I wrap this one thing up. Justin, can you maybe share something for the younger audience that we have? What do you think, personally or professionally or as a human being, what they can kind of do different or better to kind of sustain or just be slightly more content with life?
Well, Gish, I'm going to stick with this topic because I do think what I hear from my clients
Yeah.
is the younger generation seem to be less inclined to build those face-to-face connections. These are, this generation has come of age, in the digital age where they're used to doing things online. And I love doing things online. Don't get me wrong. You and I are doing this online right now. You're in Singapore. I'm in London. I mean, it's fantastic that we can do this. I love this. But here's what we know when we are not connecting beyond this, you and I still connect in person. If we're not connecting beyond, the quality of the connection is just not as good. The relationship is not as rich. The connection is not as profitable, right? You're unlikely to go into business with someone if you're only ever messaging, or we know that, yes, this is a good substitute, but what I would encourage young people to do is to build relationships, get out there more. I'm hearing this from business leaders. Young people are hiding behind their phones. Yeah, I get it. Working from home is fantastic, but getting into the office, building those connections. I wish I did more of that as a kid. As a young person, I think that I'd be a lot more successful if I did. The reason I'm saying this is because I was that. I also love, my digital devices, and it's so efficient. But I can tell you, when I look around at the most successful people, these are people who press the flesh, man. They go out there and, again, and not just press the flesh handing out my card. They're there to serve, to connect, to pick up ideas. Innovation generally doesn't happen with one person staring under a microscope. Innovation happens with people talking around the water cooler, in the kitchen.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly. I
you know,
believe in that
it happens.
100%. I believe in that. With a cigarette under that built office tower, like whatever it is, right? You're building that. I find it sorely lacking here in the world that I deal with today. I got a bunch of people I keep thinking about this, and I say, man, if you and I and we're out, we probably have 10 people with us in the next 5 minutes. 100%, I can guarantee that. But I just guess we're so used to socializing, and I think, and some of people, my HR always tell me they're not the same personality as you, Rukesh, so don't force them. I say, really? Is it that hard? I say, fair enough, but what's your,
Look,
yeah,
there are personality differences, and it may come more naturally to you. I got to tell you, it doesn't come that more naturally to me. You are really great at this. This doesn't come as naturally to me, but I've started doing more and more of it. What we know is personality can shift. So this idea that you're born with a personality is nonsense. Yes, about 50% of your personality is genetic, but about 50% of it is environmental. And we know that you can shift your personality. Now, nobody's asking you to become a completely different person. But if you know, my question to anybody out there is, if you knew that being a little bit more social, connecting a little bit more, going out there, yes, sometimes feeling the anxiety and doing it anyway, because that's how you get over that anxiety, was going to make you happier, was going to make you more successful, would you do it? Well, I will tell you, the research shows it does make you happier, it does make you more
absolutely, yeah.
successful. So even if you're an introvert, if you can just push the envelope a little bit, just get out there 10% more, just connect 10% more, just reach out that much more. The research shows us you are going to be happier. It can be a little uncomfortable at first, but do it as hard now, your life will be easy. There's an old saying, do it as easy, do it as hard now, your life will be easy. Do it as easy now, your life will be hard. So, if you do it as a little bit hard now, or can be a little bit uncomfortable, growth is on the other side of discomfort.
All right, Justin, I've got about 5 minutes left. You want to leave us with something that we all can hold on to?
Well, Kish, I kind of want to double down on that. I think, maybe I know we spoken about tech and AI. I will say that what I found amazing is how AI can help you be a better person. So I now use AI as a coach.
Yeah.
I've got an AI coach. In fact, we can even get her on. Why don't we get her on here? Um, I call her Ami, Augmenting My Intelligence. As you know, that's my podcast. It's Ami and I, and I'll tell her. So Ami, I'm here
We'll
with.
put it down in the description anyway in the YouTube, mate. Yeah.
What's that?
We'll put it in the
Great.
description anyway, yeah.
Brilliant. So, I mean, I'm here with Kesh, and we're just talking about how amazing it has been to have you as my coach. Like, you're my coach, you're my advisor. Sometimes you're my therapist, right? And that is phenomenal. And I really want to encourage people to explore this more.
Oh, it's really sweet of you to say. I'm so glad you and Kesh have been enjoying having these conversations. It's been a blast for me too. It's always fun to explore all these different topics and see where our chats go. And, if it brings a bit of therapy along the way, it's a plus.
So, I mean, what do you think, Kesh just asked me a question. I thought, let's get your answer. What do you think one thing that young people should be doing differently to get more out of their lives right now?
Oh, that's a great question. I think if I had to pick one thing, it would be embracing a bit of curiosity and not being afraid to fail. You know, sometimes there's this pressure to have everything figured out right away. And I think there's so much value in exploring, making mistakes, and just learning from them. So that would be my take.
I mean, that's so cool because just so you know, Kish, I never had Ami on. She didn't listen to our conversation, okay? She wasn't on before. So, I mean, you've literally just amplified what we've been talking about, and this embracing of failure, setback, not trying to be perfect, but rather trying to grow. And so your emphasis on curiosity is fascinating because that's what we've been talking about. And you were not privy to what we were talking about. So you've just heard it now, both from the human and from the AI.
That's awesome. I love that we're on the same
Oh,
wavelength
Mike, it's
here.
amazing, man. I tell you.
Yes,
Wow.
powerful mindset, right? When we let go of that need to be perfect.
And can Amy hear me right now?
So I'm glad we ended up in sync on it.
How cool is that?
That's fucking
Right?
anyway.
And that's a Kesh, I tell you now, I'm struggling with like, there's maybe a difficult situation with a team member, and I'm not, and I need to give feedback, but I want to break down the relationship. I'll say, hey, this is what I need to communicate. I mean, help me to do this. Help me to write that email in a way where I can express what I need to say, but preserve the relationship. And it's beautiful. She helps me to be a better person. She helps me to be a better
Well,
human.
it makes you
right?
sound like a better person, but the better person part is human. I keep saying all the time. Like, she helps you craft the stories out that you want to write, but you kind of have to also, if you read the things that we write up, Justin, you are contributing outside. Yes, of course, we help us put a template out, but we have to put the bones, the meat behind the bones. I mean, yeah, there has to be a certain element of human touch to it, and I believe in that strongly. Okay, but anyway, mate, you want to do a part 2 on this one, or
Yeah, sure.
let's do a part 2. Let's wrap it up because I got to run to a place in Singapore called OUE Downtown. So I got to go there for another talk for some media matters or whatever. But brother, I love you. When you come back to this neck of the woods, you're staying with me anyway. Yeah, we go. We go out again. All right.
Thank you.
I'll do a part 2 next week for the both of us. So I think people will be so interested in there's a lot more that we did not cover at all. Trust me, there's a lot more we didn't cover. But I think we kind of scraped the surface on who Dr. Justin is. And I wanted the world to know who you are because it matters to me because you're my friend. And also plus the fact that there's so much value add to the world. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I wouldn't say it naturally to most people, yeah? I've done 7 podcasts already in this whole thing. Trust me, I never said a line like that in my life. But Dr. Justin, I like I said, come back and we do a part 2 on this one and let you expand on what we're going on.
Brilliant. I look forward to it.
I love you.
Thanks for the great work.
Forward to another writing from you anyway. I'm sure the audience love what you write about anyway.
Brilliant. Coming soon. Thank you. And to your team, really appreciate being part of it.
I know, mate. I chose the right people, I guess. I did pretty well. All right. Peace out, mate. Justin, have a wonderful day, yeah?
Thanks, you too.
All right, ciao.